Hi, hello, happy Sabbath and Shabbat Shalom. Now, I don't know that it's made any difference yet, but I added a little bit of nutrients, some fertilizer to this avocado here. Since it's looking so pale and peaked, I thought I'd try to give it a little bit of nutrients. I really need to fill up all the soil on all these because it's running out real bad. Literally running out on the ground. So eventually, part of my plan is to put a whole bunch of new soil in here. Eventually, of course, is to make a new greenhouse and move all these to a big, where they have a full tree-sized area each, because they really need it. Now, getting past trees here, I've got my spadators coming along here, growing along. It's probably not going to make much fruit, mostly because of the temperature, but I don't know. There's a spud right there on the surface. I think I'm just going to go ahead and put it down in there for now. That way it can be a spadator later. A later spadator. There's a couple more. Little teeny tiny things. Yeah, there's a few of them in here. Just kind of taking an assessment of what all is in here. That's probably not all of them, that's just the ones at the surface. This one here, hopefully, will put on some fruits and roots and stuff. So, don't want to leave it exposed to the sunlight to turn green too quick. Let's see if any of the other juveniles over here, oops, I just crushed some of the spider plants and I lost my balance. Let's see if any more spadators have come out of here yet. Not seeing anything here yet. Now again, each of these got one originally. So far, out of all of them that I put, which was 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. So I had a total of 20. I thought I had 21, but I've got 20 apparently. Got Parkus pecan out there. So I thought I had 21, but apparently I've only got 20. But still, out of that, oh, I did have 21. I got 6 little spudlets here. I've decided that instead of just taking them right away and putting them out, I'm going ahead and let them get a little spindly. I'll train them up a stick and make them spindly so I can bury them deep when they get to that point. I keep telling people I've forgotten those babies' names, and well, I had. So the white one over here, they're way back in the corner. If I can get close to them, I can only see the white one from there. That one is cashew. The dark one, which is probably hidden back in the back, is walnut. What are you doing, Wayne Job? What are you doing? Biting my hand off. Ouch. It hurt me. She about scratched my fingers. Razor sharp little teeth. So at least finally remembered I marked it. White is cashew and dark is walnut, so I can hopefully remember their names by the time they're big enough to remember their own names. Since I'm here, I wanted to point out that I did successfully finish my repair on my pitchfork here. And the idea is that the concrete on the outside gives me traction. Concrete on the inside keeps the two parts together. And it's very heavy, especially with filling that up with steel and concrete. And this is 100% steel and concrete now. It has no more wood in it since the wood rotted out. Well, let me take it back. I drilled a core plug out at one point and drove it in the bottom of this thing as a core plug. So it does have a little bitty spool of wood in there, but it isn't the original wood. So the fields, as we've had a few days of warm, got all the way up to 96 the other day. Oh, Mr. O'Malley's eating the tops off that dock, which is fine. It's good food for him. And the winter rye is going to seed, and he's eating a little bit of the tops off of the clover. Shockingly, not as much as I'd have thought he would. So overall, the fields are greening up quite a bit. And you see where, since Gretel's no longer in here, this is starting to green up. So generally, hopefully here pretty soon, I'll be able to put all these babies out there in the field. So I'm no longer in a prison cell. I haven't gotten any work further done since the last report on that feeder box in there between the fields, but I need to get it done. Trick's going to be is getting Gretel and Snippy Snap out of here into the other field, and Mr. O'Malley out of the other field into here. It's going to be a real weird day. Alright, well, so let me get on this side of the gate here. The reason this is up here is, see that flower's coming through here. I don't know if you can see that, but if you look, the flowers are right here, little teeny little flowers. Hopefully it'll make loads and loads of seed. I don't know what this plant is, but I plan on probably picking it here pretty soon and eating it. I think it's edible. This is a bunch of those lentils that have germinated. Make certain I'm zoomed all the way out. There, and some in here. They're not germinating as well, I think, because they don't have as much sunlight. Of course, garlic is what survived is surviving. Again, the tiger lilies have survived a bit of freezing. In fact, we had a snap of frost last night. They seem to have weathered that all right. Again, I'm suspecting, I could be wrong, I'm suspecting that this might possibly be basil. And I really hope it is. All this might, if it's basil, it's going to be a lot of basil. That would be awesome. Now, I was warned by my mom last night that there was expected frost in here, and I was stupid, and I said, oh no, there's not going to be frost. And well, my stupidity came back to bite me, pun intended, frostbite. So as you notice here, some of the leaves on my spadators are curled up a bit. Didn't hit it super hard, but I should have still blanketed it over and covered it. That's what should have been done. The plants will live on, but just with some struggling that I unfortunately inflicted upon them. Speaking of plants living on, this plant looks like that same kind of plant that's over there flowering that I'm hoping is edible. And if so, hopefully it'll come up and become more of the same. Again, this will probably get harvested here pretty soon before it gets too gnarly to eat. And whenever I pick all that, it'll probably just I just cook it down and make cooked greens out of it, because that's usually what I do. Now it's going to seed. It's putting these little seed pods on here. So I was talking about being gnarly, and they might end up making little gritty seeds that might be a booger. I don't know. So even though my spuds got a little freezer burned, they're going to survive. Now over here, we have some lentils sprouting in this area right here in the middle, but not a lot more than the last time. And I still see no signs of watermelons here or here. Now Mom got some cucumbers planted, and they've sprouted up pretty well. They're about 8 to 9 inches long, some of them. So, but all these tomato seeds seem to have done nothing also. I may just have to get some more tomato seeds from somewhere and try again. I don't know. Of course, the sage is still growing healthy. It's gained about 4 or 5 inches of new growth on the lower branches. hopefully we'll be able to propagate it at some point where it'll become, because it's clearly a perennial. And if we can get it to propagate and get all over the place, we'll have loads and loads of sage. And I say all over the place because I don't know where I'll put it, but I know that so far, none of the animals out here, like the deer or the goats, has ever touched it. I think they don't like it. Kind of a deer goat repellent. So we'll see. And over here, I think all the grape hyacinths they got frostbitten a little bit last night too. But they had just mostly delayed their blooming till after the big frost, and now they've come up in between and bloomed and completed their flowering. So I thought there'd be more of them though. Now I put phosphorus out here on some of these irises, not all of them. I need to put more phosphorus out on more of these irises so that hopefully they'll flower. Same with the lilies. Let's go see how they, start with while we're right here. And again, the Dusty Millers came up last year so big that they flowered, which was really awesome. Never seen a Dusty Miller flower before, but those are right there. Flower pods. They may have seeds in them, I don't know. Seeds may have already fallen out, I don't know. But they come back year after year, whether they're perennial or not. I think they must be, because that's the first time I've ever seen them flower. Oops, squished something. Felt it squish under my feet. So, let's see if we can get over here. Not getting too scratched up. Holes around to fall into. Okay, so the peonies that the boys bit off last year seem to have come back. Fewer of them. There's only 4 here. Last year there was 13. Oh, there's 5 right here. And they're a little spindly looking, but they're still alive, so when there's life, there's hope. Some of these other daffodil varieties didn't actually flower very well this year. They flowered, but they didn't flower well. They just kind of flowered barely. So that was a little disappointing. I don't know what that was about. Maybe it's a lack of phosphorus in the field, in the soil. Maybe I need to add some fertilizer and stuff to them, get them to blossom some more. The bridal wreath hasn't yet started blooming, but that's good because it saved it from being frostbitten. The baby's breath over there got frostbitten, but it came back with a few more blooms. Over here, when we have our hazelnuts, this one over here is opening up pretty well. And I think that's either a root or a nut right there. And so I got a couple more down here at ground level, I think, that are newbies. And then this one has a couple buds opening on it, but it's really slow and it's really struggling. Hopefully it'll make it. Other than that, let's go see how these orchid looking flowers have gotten to. Oh yeah, where are they? Right around here. Yeah, all my wild strawberries are flowering through here. Again, I don't know if they're as dense and bummed as in the past, but there's some here. So I got wild strawberries coming up. There's some right there. Getting a sniffly nose. Everybody's complaining about the pollen, and yeah, I had to clear my throat a lot this morning, and then now my nose is running. But there's not as much pollen as apparently some places where it's just covering everything so badly that you can't. Like cars turning yellow kind of levels of pollen. So, coming over here, see that seed pod there? I'm going to actually put that seed pod deliberately like that, so that if it ruptures before I get to it, hopefully it will all or partly fall, if not completely fall, in that cup. Because I want to catch some of those. I've never seen them before, and while I'm sure they'll propagate just fine on their own, I won't be able to propagate them in a place where I can observe them better. See, there's another seed pod. I'm not going to try to chase every seed pod down. Now this thing got hit by that last freeze pretty hard. That big heavy freeze. And I don't know if it's going to come back. That may have killed it off. Nope, here we go. I see fresh buds on it right here. Yes, so sorry I can't get my finger in the picture there, and yeah, so it's coming back. It's got enough energy left in it and life to recover. So it may not be doing as well as it should, but it's not dead, at least. It makes such lovely white fluffy flowers. They're kind of like these flowers in a way, little spindly tiny petals, but they're like almost laid out more like a dandelion. Not exactly, it's kind of halfway in between. If you haven't seen them before, they're quite a different flower. And again, I don't know what they are. And there's just the one plant anywhere on the property. I don't know if there's other plants other places. Again, there's been multiple homesteads here over the years, so it could have been anybody planted it. It may be the child of a bigger, older shrub that died off a while ago. I don't know. But it's there, and as long as it lives a little longer, hopefully I can transplant it somewhere better for it, since the goats and the deer like to eat it. That's why it's in that cage. Trying to give it its best chance of survival. Alright, so here we go with cherry blossoms. There's some more cherry blossoms here and there. So this thing is going to put on some fruit. I wouldn't say it put on a lot of fruit, or will. And then what it does put on, it may not keep to the time it matures, because birds, squirrels, and just casting fruit, so no way of knowing. I kind of stood up my toy car parts over there. That's one of my future projects, is to turn that into one of these little Power Wheels go-kart type deals. And that was a little kid's bed. And I want to modify it where it has a motor and a frame and real wheels, and dress it up like a real little midget Power Wheels car there, and make working headlights, tail lights, and stuff on it, just to make a cute little device someday. I'll try to film that whole thing as I do it, rather than just suddenly, ta-da, here it is at the end. But I have not really been mentally in a stage of life to be setting up cameras and putting them down lately, so I don't know where that came from. Huh. Weird. I wonder if that comes from the turn signals on this thing. If it did, it came from somewhere inside. I don't know. Looks like it's been driven over. But it looks kind of like this. But I don't think it's from the same thing. I don't know. I see some dogwoods blooming up on the hill. Of course, the redbuds are blooming, but they're not putting on much of a show this year. Oh, and of course, the verbena. Now, the verbena took a little bit of a frost hit, but it's come back better than before after that. And while the verbena looked pretty sorry for a minute, it came back with a lot more flowers than before. Now, the orange puccoons, they took a teeny little hit, but these are the biggest and most abundantly floral orange puccoons I've ever seen. I don't know how big they tend to get in nature usually. You can see these right here got frostbit, but it's still blooming anyhow. So they seem to be pretty happy with life. My big fan fell over, so I propped it up. My number one worry is that there might be puccoons growing under it, and I didn't want them to get smothered. But you notice I propped it up with a board and some blocks, because I don't want it to slam down too hard. Now here, it looks like we've got a little colony of puccoons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in here. So they're getting more abundant. They must love it. There's one over there. They are happy little campers. This thing is probably, I'm guessing, a few weeks away from blooming. I don't know. It's got little flower blossoms on it, but they're tiny. I see my brain went dead. Echinacea, the purple coneflower coming up. And then you got these onion flowers here. Oh look, some violets, also Johnny jump ups. And there's a wood sorrel. There's a blue onion grass. And then you got the white onion grass. Quite a bit of it. I figured I'd come up this way, partly because of the fact that I hadn't been up here in a while, and partly because I wanted to get a closer look at that dogwood. That's the first dogwood I've seen open up this year. It's not that there aren't a lot of them around, they're just not right out on the open like this one is. This is one of the few dogwoods that is directly out on the edge of the road where you can immediately see it. And so notice the mowing company, the county went through here and obliterated a bunch of these trees. Somehow most of the dogwood evaded being obliterated. Some didn't, but either way, you know, they're going to do what they're going to do, and they don't care about all things like flowers. So, the other flower I couldn't think of checking up on the other day was that mountain bog gentian. It's really hard to see it because it's tiny, but it's growing. Sorry about that. Wind keeps blowing in the microphone of this thing, and so I end up putting my finger over the microphone. I don't talk when the microphone's covered over, but I wanted to try to show things. Over here, I have not yet done anything more with my onions or my elephant garlic. But they're surviving along. So that's all I can expect for the moment, is that they survive along. I noticed that one kind of sunflower right there that really grows a long period of the year, apparently it is a perennial, and it's coming back nice and thick. I don't know if it all is or just a few. I see a couple dogbane in there, flowers, and they're part of the milkweed slash butterfly weed slash orange puccoon family, and they're perennials. I've got, that's waxweed, and then I've got, other than that, of course, I've got some daisies will show up, more strawberries. I don't know what this one is yet, but it's coming up. We're having a real sudden flush of flourishing because we've had really hot weather the last few days, and that really spikes off the blossoming. Now, the last thing to mention here before we're done with this report is what little work I did here this week. I'm not going to show you the house, even though it's much cleaner. Not because I don't want you to see my messy house, but because I don't like trying to record in a dark, dingy, dull place where it's really hard to see anything. But if nothing else, you can see the floor is clean. So I went and swept the floors all around, moved some stuff, put it in storage, burned a bunch of trash, and just generally, this is just de-leavening. It's not really clean. It needs to be totally cleaned, organized, everything put away up on shelves and made where a person can work from it. I had forgotten that I had this. This is just common drain tile. I'm going to eventually put it in here. I thought I had some, and I didn't know if I had some, and I was rooting around and found that I had some. So I was going to go in here along with some other pipe to make this drainage ditch, fill that out. And in the meantime, all this stuff, this whole container of stuff came from the house, and then that stuff right there. So I hauled several hundred pounds of junk from the house down here, also the printers and stuff that I showed last week. So there was a lot of haulage going on. I hauled off another bunch of beer boxes. I keep having them pile up. I need to just get rid of them on the spot instead of waiting, but I always end up leaving them until there's 100 of them. But yeah, I haven't done much except de-leavening, and so that's where we're at the moment on that. That's pretty much the whole week's report. And like I say, I made a mistake of not covering those potatoes, so they got a little bit frostbitten, but they'll come back. So that's it for this week, and God willing, we'll see you next Sabbath and with another report. So until then, shalom, have a blessed week, and may God bless everything you do, and have a peaceful, wonderful time. Bye for now.